In his first 13 fights in the UFC, Israel Adesanya's record stood impressively at 12 wins and just 1 loss. That lone defeat came when he moved up to light heavyweight in March 2021, facing Jan Blachowicz. However, at middleweight, he remained undefeated, boasting a remarkable 12-0 record. Many fans and analysts regard him as one of the greatest middleweights of all time, often mentioning his name alongside legends like Anderson Silva. Adesanya's rise to prominence was not just due to his skill set but also his activity level. He fought at least 2, and sometimes 3 or 4 times a year. This willingness to take on tough opponents set him apart from many fighters who remain inactive or avoid challenging matchups. His impressive victories over top contenders such as Rob Wilkinson, Marvin Vettori, Derek Brunson, and Anderson Silva paved the way for a shot at the interim title held by Kelvin Gastelum. Their fight is celebrated as one of the best in middleweight history, with Adesanya emerging victorious after a thrilling 5-round battle. He then faced Robert Whittaker in a bid to unify the title, defeating him decisively in just 2 rounds, which solidified his status as a superstar in the UFC. What truly made Adesanya popular was more than just his dominance in the octagon, it was his showmanship and flair that made him memorable. He wasn't afraid to showcase his personality, both in and out of the arena, which endeared him to fans. However, the past year has seen a significant shift in Adesanya's fortunes. After suffering 2 bitter defeats, he no longer holds the middleweight title, and his actions have alienated much of the MMA community. The question now is, what has Adesanya done to turn people against him, and is this the end of his reign at middleweight? Adesanya is a unique character in the world of fight sports. His personality contrasts sharply with the traditional image of fighters. He paints his nails, expresses himself in unconventional ways, and has an evident passion for anime. His nickname, The Last Style Bender, pays homage to the animated series, Avatar, The Last Airbender, and he often references anime in interviews, even reenacting scenes during fights. While some fans find this endearing, others view it as corny. This divisive nature of his persona is a recurring theme in discussions about him. Yet, despite the mixed opinions, everyone agrees on one thing: he is an incredibly talented fighter. He combines speed, accuracy, and power, and at 6 feet 4 inches, he has a height advantage over most fighters in his division. However, there is one fighter who makes even Adesanya look small in the cage: Alex Pereira. In August 2022, it was announced that Adesanya would face Pereira in the main event at UFC 281. Although this would be their first fight in the UFC, both had met twice before in kickboxing. In their first encounter, Pereira won by decision, showcasing his striking ability. They met again a year later, where Adesanya appeared dominant for the first 2 rounds until Pereira landed a devastating strike that knocked him out cold. This marked the only time Adesanya has been finished in a fight, putting him at 0-2 against Pereira. Fast forward 5 years, and their first UFC bout mirrored their previous kickboxing encounters. At the end of the first round, Adesanya caught Pereira with a significant shot, leaving him vulnerable, but he was saved by the bell. In the second round, Pereira returned looking revitalized and engaged Adesanya in a fiercely competitive fight. As they entered the final round, Pereira needed a finish to secure the win, and he delivered, knocking Adesanya out and continuing his reign as Adesanya's nemesis. Following the fight, Adesanya handled his defeat with grace, acknowledging Pereira's abilities while expressing his belief that he could beat him in a rematch. This mentality was commendable, as it demonstrated his resilience and determination to reclaim his title. However, the narrative surrounding Adesanya began to shift. Fans started to see Pereira as Adesanya's boogeyman, having defeated him twice in kickboxing and now once in the UFC. This added psychological pressure on Adesanya as he prepared for their anticipated rematch. The rematch took place in April 2023, with Adesanya under immense pressure to reclaim his title. The stakes were higher than ever. A loss would not only mean failing to regain the championship but also accepting that Pereira was simply the better fighter. The fight began, and Pereira quickly targeted Adesanya's legs with powerful kicks. The first round was competitive, but by the second round, the cumulative effect of Pereira's leg kicks began to show. Adesanya's leg buckled after a particularly brutal kick, and Pereira seized the opportunity to go for the finish. However, in a stunning turn of events, Adesanya capitalized on Pereira's overzealousness and delivered a spectacular knockout, silencing his critics and proving his doubters wrong. This victory marked a pivotal moment in Adesanya's career, showcasing his mental strength and ability to overcome adversity. The emotions he displayed after the fight were palpable. He expressed immense joy and gratitude for the support of his fans. However, this triumph was short-lived, as new challenges loomed on the horizon. Dricus du Plessis, a South African mixed martial artist, had been making waves in the UFC since his debut in October 2020. His rapid rise caught Adesanya's attention, especially after du Plessis made comments that seemed to question Adesanya's authenticity as an African fighter. This struck a nerve with Adesanya, leading to a confrontation that showcased his frustration. After du Plessis defeated Robert Whittaker at UFC 290, Adesanya's reaction was less than graceful. During the post-fight interview, he attempted to overshadow du Plessis' moment, making comments about their African heritage and trying to assert his dominance. This behavior drew criticism from fans and analysts alike, who felt it was unbecoming of a champion. Many viewed Adesanya's actions as childish and disrespectful, further damaging his reputation within the MMA community. The anticipation for a potential matchup between Adesanya and du Plessis grew, but when du Plessis pulled out due to injury, Adesanya's focus shifted to Sean Strickland. Strickland, who was initially seen as an underdog, began to gain traction with fans due to his brash personality and sharp trash talk. The back-and-forth exchanges between Adesanya and Strickland added fuel to the fire, with Strickland even highlighting some bizarre statements Adesanya had made in the past, including claims about his identity. As the fight date approached, the tension escalated, and Adesanya's reputation was on the line. Strickland's taunts regarding Adesanya's past and personal life added a layer of psychological warfare to the matchup. Fans eagerly awaited the clash, but the outcome was far from what anyone expected. On fight night, Strickland came out aggressive, applying pressure and keeping Adesanya on the back foot. From the first round, it was clear that Strickland had a game plan that was working. He landed a significant right hand that knocked Adesanya down, leaving him reeling. As the fight progressed, Adesanya struggled to find his rhythm, and Strickland continued to dominate. By the end of the fifth round, it was evident that Strickland had outperformed Adesanya, winning the fight on all judges' scorecards and claiming the middleweight title. This defeat marked one of the most embarrassing moments in Adesanya's career, especially considering the build-up and expectations surrounding the fight. In the aftermath, Adesanya approached Strickland during the post-fight interview, pleading with him not to bring up his dog, a reference to past taunts. This moment was particularly striking, as it highlighted the contrast between Adesanya's previous bravado and his current vulnerability. Fans were quick to point out the irony, given Adesanya's own history of trash-talking and disrespecting opponents. Following the fight, Adesanya's demeanor changed drastically. He spoke for less than a minute at the post-fight press conference, offering no questions and leaving abruptly. It was clear that the loss had affected him deeply, far more than his previous defeats. As if things couldn't get worse, news broke that Adesanya had pled guilty to a drunk driving charge after being stopped by authorities in New Zealand. With a blood alcohol level nearly double the legal limit, he issued a public apology, expressing disappointment in his actions and acknowledging the responsibility that comes with being in the spotlight. This series of events left Adesanya's reputation in tatters. He had lost his title, many fans, and a significant amount of dignity. The big question now is whether he can bounce back from this tumultuous period. While he has shown resilience in the past, reclaiming his title may be easier than restoring his image in the eyes of the public. Adesanya's journey in the UFC has been one of highs and lows, showcasing his incredible talent and charisma, but also revealing the pitfalls of fame and the pressure of expectations. As he navigates this challenging chapter, fans are left wondering if he can reclaim his place at the top or if this is the beginning of a downward spiral. In conclusion, Israel Adesanya's story is a testament to the unpredictable nature of sports and the complexities of personal identity. His ability to captivate audiences through his fighting style and personality has made him a polarizing figure in MMA. As he faces the repercussions of his recent actions and performances, the path ahead remains uncertain. Will he rise again, or has the once mighty champion fallen too far? Only time will tell.